Good evening. I welcome you to the last regular meeting of this town council that was seated about 2 years ago. It's November 13th, 2017 at 8:04 p.m. We're going to start with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman David Hardin will lead the prayer. David is also a pastor.
Most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for an opportunity to come together as a community. We ask that you bless us, you strengthen our minds, you allow us to get along, and that you guide us through this meeting tonight. We thank you for those who are here, and we send our prayers out to the families and the friends who have lost people during this year. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilman Hardin. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the regularly scheduled meeting and public forum of October 10th and the special meeting of October 23rd, 2017?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Chase. Is there a second for that? Seconded by Mr. Young. Okay, discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor to approve those minutes, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 9-0. I just want to note that one of our council persons is not here this evening, but yet we still have a quorum. There are 9 of us here. Okay, the next item on the agenda is ceremonial presentations and awards. Mr. Mayor, do you have any?
None at this time.
Okay, I do not either. I do want to give thanks to Vicky Soto's family and friends who organized the Vicky Soto race and brought the community around the important things that that foundation is doing and her memory. Okay. The next thing is council members' response to comments from the public comments from the public forum. We will start with Mr. Kadim, Councilman Kadim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I would like to just thank God that we all made it through the 2-year term. It was a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of patience. The mic is in front of me. It ain't working. Let's try next one. There you go. American way, you have more choices. Ain't that beautiful? I would like to thank everyone for our endurance for the 2 years that we've been here. It's good to know all of you. I pray that all the actions that was taken and recognized in a passionate way was not personal. So if anyone I ever offended, I'd like to say sorry. Also, I love all of you, and I pray that we keep moving in a good direction with or without being on the council. God bless all of you. Also, I'd like to say a special prayer for all the veterans that came and served, my father and family members as well. God bless all of them, and keep them in our prayers. Recognize to be a free country that we have, if it was not for the veterans that came before us and stood for what America stands for, we wouldn't be able to have the freedoms we have. So God bless all of them and their families who sacrificed. A lot of discussion this evening, even though it wasn't a lot of people, the points are still the same. Shakespeare Center School, budget. There was an opportunity here that was missed in my overview in terms of our service for these 2 years. And I pray that the next council recognize the importance of getting a good handle on the budget, saving the taxpayers' money, and spend money wisely, not frugal, more frugal than loose as it has been. Because when you look at the budget, even prior to years, not just the 2 years we've been here, we was able to look at all the budgets, and you can see there's opportunities to save money. Education is very important, but you have to be smart as well about how you move money in the education department. In the Board of Ed, you can't just say, okay, we have this money, let's find a reason to spend it. No, use it for the children. Give them what they need. Give the taxpayers a break. Don't just spend the money because it's there. That's been a big topic, education. Common Core really doesn't work. really doesn't work. And it's okay if you believe it does, it don't. Because anytime you take away phonics out of a language, how do you sound out a word? Most children today don't even know how to sound out a word because they don't know how to use the phonics because it's not there anymore. The penmanship idea, the ideology of learning how to write in cursor or script is gone. So how is that a plus? I mean, who's making the decisions to educate our children? And why are we back in such silliness? I mean, if those things are gone, that's the foundation of language, and why would you support something like that? And then keep putting money on top of money on top of money. It don't fix anything. You need a better solution and a better approach. A lot of things that are dear to the town of Stratford, Shakespeare should have been up and running. I don't see no reason why it's still going on that same journey for 2 decades or more. It's just ridiculous. I mean, if we can build new housing and we can tear down a building and put up a new building and have businesses come in and erect the building from the ground up, why we can't fix one that's already standing? I don't get that one. And quite naturally, once it's built, so many people would love to use that building. Not just the schools, there's so many different outside organizations, the comedians that would rent that hall out. Since we don't have a movie theater anymore, I'm quite sure some organizations would come and start showing movies in there just to collect a couple of dollars. I mean, there's so many things can be done with that building. It's so sad that we've dropped the ball on that. So sad. I feel bad about that, and I pray that we can get that going next time around. I thank God, and I want to thank all the people who came out and voted for me to keep me here for another term, and I hope that I'm able to keep working steadfast and remain the same. So thank you very much. A lot of people through this past 2 years came up and said a lot of positive, good things. So we can't let the negative things, people come, who come up to the podium and they say so many things that may hurt you. You got to move away from that. The good people say good things, and they recognize that this is a volunteer position and you do all that you can do in the sight of goodness and God. Then it should be positive things like people were saying we did a very good job, we were patient. They say, you're proud of you guys. So many things were said, and I just love all you guys for seeing the real picture, not a personal agenda or a personal attack. I thank God that you see the goodness in those people who strive to make it better for the town and came out to their meetings and looked over the paperwork and tried to make good decisions. I try to make my decisions based on prayer, not on what I think. Also, the facts. The numbers rule out anything you can, think within your own mind. Your deductive reasoning skills have to be a part of what you do and what it is that you represent. Also, when you, gentlemen spoke about Center School, my God, I used to ref basketball games there. There's nothing wrong with that building. I went and seen from the roof to the basement, I went and walked through it. All you gotta do is tear out the old and put in some new, and you're good to go. There's nothing wrong with that building. And it should be something that children can use, a community center, because you have the gym there to play basketball. You have rooms where you can have computers. You have rooms where you can do board games. There's so many things you can do with that building. To think of changing the quality of life by tearing it down or turning it into something like that really won't fit. That block is very clean. I've been on a lot of blocks, and there's a lot of nice neighbors, but when you go down that block where Center School is at, those people really care about their grass, their curb appeal. It is beautiful. So to throw something there that's going to affect the quality of life is very inconsiderate. So I hope that going forward they think about that in terms of wanting to tear everything down and make us into a city instead of a town, because we're not a town. We're not a city. We're a town. So let's keep it that way. Someone spoke about a lot of unfinished business. It's always going to be that way because you are only one vote. So you have 10 people with different thought process and different ideas. So if we can get on the same page, America will be a better America. And I hope that one day that happens, especially in the town of Stratford, because I love being here. And there's so many people in this town that love Stratford. I don't understand how we can run on a slate and not feel that energy of the people who love Stratford and just want it better. I don't understand. If you can't feel that, then you need to pray a little more. Get in touch with yourself. Talk to yourself and find in you the goodness that's in all the other people that are here. You got to understand, these people don't come out because they don't have anything to do. They come out because they care about their community. They want it better. So I pray that everyone who get elected to the seat try to think about that instead of themselves or what they're going to do after the council. No, you're in the council. Deal with that now. Deal with what your job is now, not what you're going to do after you get out the seat and run for this or run for that. Deal with today. And try to do better for the people who allowed you to be here, because you can't elect yourself. You're one vote, even when you vote for yourself, you're one vote. There's hundreds of people who put you in this seat. How could you not know that you don't represent yourself? If you don't know that, then don't sit up here. Go sit down somewhere, stay home, do something. But don't run in the council, don't run in government. It's such a sad thing because I see it not just at this level, at the state level, and at the higher level, President of the United States, Council, Senate. We have to start thinking about the people who allow what we are today, citizens of the world, the freest country in the world. I just pray that we move closer to doing better with those things. And we're speaking about the budget not being passed for so long. If it ain't right, it ain't right. You ain't, you know, rushing something through tonight or rushing something due tomorrow ain't gonna make it right. If the numbers are actually higher than they were when they originally put the budget in. So how could it even be right to vote on that? Even tonight, what's the rush? What's the rush? You know, the first year we were here, the budget went through, everybody was happy. Second time, the budget didn't go through, no one's happy. And then 3 times you work hard behind the scenes, Mr. Khan, pointing out so many different things that can be done to save taxpayers' money, ignored 3 times. Even when we adjusted it to try to say, okay, we'll give a little more, even though we didn't want to raise the taxes or didn't want to raise the economic number from where it was 218 or 216, we made compromises, and 3 times it was knocked down as if what we done had less value than what was done prior to us. I mean, think of how real that is. I mean, if you can't see that, then something's wrong with your eyes. Because you can't ignore the work as if we're sitting here. We're not getting paid $100,000+ a year to do this, and we don't have aides helping us. We're 10 people trying to get together to make sense, to make it right for our town. And I think money skews things anyway. It makes you blind also. Too much money, you can't see clearly. Because you don't know what it means to miss a meal, then that's a problem. Because then you ain't gonna understand all the other people who don't have that luxury, who actually misses meals, like senior citizens live right in my district, not able to afford their life. Now, it was fine 5 or 10 years ago, but now, all of a sudden, what happened new? Did we get like a new town hall that we had to pay for? I mean, what did we do to where we need to pay so much for so many things, and these projects that don't need to be done, all of a sudden is an emergency? Why is it an emergency? All this time, we needed the pipes done on our sewer lines, so the solution is to sell it. That's not the solution. Fix the pipes. That way you ain't got to worry about selling anything. Make it worth more so people want to be here and live here. So I don't know. I just pray that cooler heads prevail going forward, and that we try to act on what we know is right, not what we think is right. And I just want to say I love all of you and thank you for coming out all the times that you came down here in the weather, the rain, the snow, just to speak of the things that you know are right that's going to serve your town, because you've been here, some of you, family, generation after generation, and just love being here. So I just want to say I love all of you and thank you, and God bless everyone. Thank you.
Councilman Harden?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I just wanted to thank all the council people / persons for sitting on this council. As Wally Kadeem said, that this was a very difficult job to do, especially when you had the negative Nollies that continue to chomp at the bit. And I prevailed. I got through. I did what was right for my district. I told the line, and I took the high road. And I'm excited to sit up here to say that my district had a lot of things going on, positive things. And it's exciting to me to know and understand that my people came out to vote and stood up for what was right. It's important that we continue to stand together as a community. One of the things that I found out in this town being on the council, it doesn't matter what you say or do, even if it's right, you're always gonna be wrong. You're gonna have that same group of people that continue to say the same group of things for 20 years. And one of the things that I've learned to do is move on and do my job. I never allowed the negativity to get in the way. Because when negativity gets in the way, it stops progress. My fight is not personal, it's about progress. It's about doing for my district. There are people that came before me, failed my district. I'm there, I'm doing what's right, I'm listening to the people in my district, and I'm moving forward. The budget is a very difficult task, and we understand that. You know, one of the things that I did not say to people is that you know, I'm going to ensure that the taxes did not go up. I don't want the taxes to go up. But there are a lot of things that play in whether taxes go up. And people really have to sit down and look at that and understand that. There's economic development, there's monies that we get from the states. There are a lot of things that help defray the taxes. It's just not one group of people or person or 10 people who sometimes could really decide that. Believe me, nobody wants the taxes to go high. Nobody. And we've sat in here, we've rowed the boat, we end up with a boat with a hole in it. We got back up, somebody patched it back up, we moved forward. And so again, I'm hoping that we can get this done, and I'm hoping that we can work together as a team. It was a bumpy road up here. We had personal conflicts, we had all kinds of nonsense going on, we had villains taking over, and now we need to move forward and do what's right. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited about the new change on the council. I'm excited about doing what's right and what's fair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hardin. Mr. Can?
Thank you, Madam Chair. New administration is elected, a new council is elected with the statement of bringing civility and moving the town forward. And civility has been characterized, let's say incivility has been characterized by a lot of the anger or words that have been used, whether it's in social media or up here on the council with each other. But the incivility also has to do with deeds that happen behind the scenes. And these could be things that aren't in the public, but there's still mechanizations, there's still the maneuvers that people that want to influence behavior in this town will use to get their way. This Saturday, I was blessed to be part of the Veterans Day celebration over at Academy Hill. Those are men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our town. The work we do up here requires some time and energy and some conscientious thought, but it's nothing like traveling overseas or serving in the armed forces or serving in public safety. So I want to take a moment to thank the VFW Post for organizing the event and for providing that opportunity for us to show gratitude to all the men and women of our armed forces. One of the speakers tonight spoke about words that were said prior to that event, and I'll substantiate what she said is true, although she only represented about half of what was said. And it didn't only have to do with the 5th district is not going to get anything. It was also said, haven't you learned your lesson, Mr. Can? Don't you know when it's time to shut up? And in Dave's comment, in the prayer he gave, he used community. Community is common unity. And you've seen me speak to our town attorney about Ordinance 2.215, which says the town council is entitled to initiate an investigation. Some people in this town don't want things investigated, so they'll try to punish you for that. Now, I hope in the new administration, the new council, that spirit of deeds that are negative versus just words that we use will be evaporated and not used as a tool to prevent progress in the town. I want to thank everybody for listening to me over the last 10 months. I don't mean to filibuster, but I don't know sometimes how to be concise. And with that, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. That's it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Young?
Well, I do know how to be concise. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. It's been a great 2 years. We've had our ups and downs, but overall I think it's been a positive experience. I want to thank everybody that served, and Missy, you're up next.
Ms. Anteza.
I would like to thank the people who said very nice things about us and how hard we worked, and we did. And I appreciate that very much. And that's about all I'm going to say.
Mr. Chase?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I want to thank the folks for coming out that spoke this evening. I want to thank my fellow counselors. It's been an interesting 2 years, and I wish all of you the very best in whatever endeavors you pursue in the future. I thank the administration for their counsel and input as we work through the various issues that we've faced over the last 2 years. And I want to thank, in particular, my co-mate, Mr. Llewellyn, and Ms. Intezo for their work in our caucus. Thank you very much.
Mr. Llewellyn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, thank everybody for coming out. Want to thank all the council persons. It's been, great working with you all, especially on something exciting as the high school. I hope by now everybody's noticed that the crane is up and in the air. Steel is in the process of being set. It's kind of like the building and the development of our future. The sentiments of, of unfinished business and some of the emptiness at the exit, I sense some of that too. As I saw that high school crane go up and I drove by the steel on Sunday, I did kind of look at that and, I thought of Center School, I thought of Shakespeare Theater. Those projects could have and should have been further along. There could have been more momentum and more pace put behind them, and we could have the town further forward than where it is right now. Hoping that both the 3 returning council persons as well as the 7 new council persons, many of whom are here tonight, will look to us as resources and not let the time that we put in and the knowledge that we've gained go to waste. I, for one, know that I'm definitely here, and in another month I'll have more free time available than I have now. 27 days, says Mr. Chase. Thank you so much. He's still hard at work. And I guess in terms of the budget, I've spoken with a few of the council persons elect. They would like to see us pass a budget. Whether or not it happens or not remains to be seen, but that was one of kind of the questions and doubts I had, was that with there being 7 new council persons, did they want to take that role on themselves, or do they want to see us get it taken care of? I've spoken to a few of them. I know they'd like to see us get that business taken care of tonight. We'll see what happens, and I hope to cross paths with as many of you as possible again in the future, and thanks again for being here for us. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Manis.
Thanks. Hey, everybody. How's it going? I want to address some of the comments that were said at public forum. Mr. Parody said, never apologize for being passionate. And he said, I'm passionate. And never apologize for being passionate. It shows that you care. It's one of the things that makes Stratford unique. We have a lot of people who care desperately about our town and our community, or you wouldn't be here tonight, right? You'd be somewhere else on a Monday night doing something else. I know some folks have never been to a meeting before. Welcome. And this is important. I remember I had never been to a meeting once before, and I started coming and went, huh? What? I got to get involved in this. And it's a calling. It's a vocation. It isn't something you just take lightly. I believe that. I believe it's something you're called to do, and it's a vocation. As far as Mr. Goodrich said, put your name on something. My name's on a high school. My name's on a field house. And my name is all over public records. When I walked in to visit Stratford High School the first time, and I looked on the wall that was there, and I saw Burge, and I go downstairs and I see names like Wilcoxon, and I go in Bunnell High School and I see Doc Gunther or Caraglier, or these names, and I went to school with kids named that. So, and I started to realize, oh boy, this is a town full of people with generations of building this community, and I know them. That's Megan's mom, Susan Burge. That's somebody I went to school with. I had no idea. She was just a great lady who ran really great parties in the summer for us. And to be able to understand that I come from Liberty Street and Peace Street, from nothing. Stratford, my parents were from Bridgeport and Seymour. I came to this community, and here I am sitting here representing the 10th district. 8 years old, I landed in the 10th district in this quiet place where no one played outside anymore. And that was where I grew up. And to be able to say that I represented them and that I fought for them, and I walked that district 4 or 5 times. I remember running in 2013, not knowing what I was doing. And I remember standing at the polls with the then chairman, Mr. Peturla, and he said, wow, there's a lot of people coming out. You brought out the base, kid, good for you. And it was like 483, and I lost, and everybody thought it was so great. And I remember when I won in 215, and it was 647, and then now with this one, it's 563. And Mr. Kadim, I lost it by 30 points off of you. And I'm going to tell you, the object is to bring out the people who vote. And this time in 2017, I wanted to know how many Democrats would come out to vote. I took a hard left, and I fought for my values. And when you dance, people start to dance with you. And now we get to be dancing all over town. So all those people who follow and want to be part of this, like, we join you now and we continue on the work. And I agree with Mr. Llewellyn said, the work doesn't stop here. We all have this knowledge that we bring forward, whether it's to do work on the high school and the projects in town, or just to how to have a voice and how to move forward, how to run a campaign. You know, all of those things are things that we moved forward in this town. And I think that that's really, really important. More important than, you know, what gets passed day to day and taxes, and we can fight over that. The BOE, for the first time in 20 years, is going to be run by Democrats. I think that that's amazing. That's a value. That's a value on education and something that Democrats were criticized for, right? And so now we show that value base there. We move to a different area where we have a majority. I think that if we are to be, the legacy that we leave is how we love each other. And I really think that we continue to come together, we continue to talk to one another and learn from each other and move along. I can say in my campaign, I walked to no doors and badmouthed anyone. I didn't tell anyone anything negative about anyone when I walked door to door, and I'm proud of that. I ran clean campaigns with my folks because that's what you're supposed to do. And I think that everybody here has done that for the most part. We've brought it to a different level. You might not like the way we interact here, but this is governance. But when it comes to working with our folks, I've gotten 2 ceramic geese, a pocketbook, 4 garbage cans, apples, and all kinds of gifts. I can't even imagine. Like, I don't know any politician that gets that kind of stuff at the polls, but you do. And I thank my folks at home for believing in me, and I thank those 563 people who came out and voted for me. We almost matched the seat of the Democratic Party in District 3. There's Democrats in District 10. There's liberals in District 10. And I'm still here for you. And I'm here for everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now it's my turn. It's been very interesting being up here for the past 2 years. Eddie Goodrich brought up a few topics, and one of them, of course, was Shakespeare. I don't want you to have the wrong impression. There has been a heck of a lot that's gone on in the Shakespeare subcommittee. Marvell Architects did provide to the town last Tuesday night almost 200 pages of drawings and details and an incredibly detailed punch list of exactly what has to happen for that building to be stabilized and to be made safe and secure. The town has that, and it should be on the bid list already. If it's not, it will be, I hope, tomorrow morning. And so they were going through that. So selecting a contractor for that should be pretty simple now, since the hard work was done in terms of figuring out what needed to be done. Now it's just going to be a matter of comparing the prices of what the bids are. So I'm very proud of that work. It did take some time to get it going, to get that committee going, to build consensus, to get the vision of the theater. but there's been a lot of work done there, and you should see construction going on in the spring there. This council has done an awful lot, and I just want to point out a few of the things, a few of the highlights. Under Phil Young, the Public Works meetings, when we first started, I remember our first Public Works meeting, there wasn't a punch list of things that had to happen, and we had to make it clear that our job here was oversight. The council and the administration, we have a kind of a symbiotic relationship, but we're supposed to be doing oversight. So those meetings, we started to insist on a punch list. And at first the punch list was really about this thick of papers. And lately they've been about, what, 2 pages of things, if that. And so I think that's a big accomplishment to have more rigor in terms of what needed to be done and getting on top of things more proactively. This council passed the Neighborhood Assistance Act, which makes all of our nonprofits in town, if they choose to take advantage of that, like Sterling House has, it can be to their advantage. So I'm proud of that. The field house, that project was a bit stalled, kind of flailing when we got in. That has been constructed and should be dedicated soon. The dog park project, that's underway. The ranger station has been demolished, and that whole area is going to be quite the area probably within the next year, I would imagine. This budget that's presented tonight straightens out the whole EMS funding situation, which I'm proud of, and I know David Harden is. And one of the things I think I'm most proud of, there are 2 things I'm very proud of. This budget tonight would represent a 9.5% increase in BOE funding since when we started here. 9.5%. We believe in our children, we believe in our teachers, we believe in our Board of Education, we believe in getting, in having our houses worth more, because we know this is a very valuable community. So we look forward to the new members of the Board of Education following up the work of the current members that are rotating off in further strengthening education. And one of the things I'm also proud of, maybe this is more personal, is that I have learned to work with Republicans more, and I think there are some Republicans who've learned to work with Democrats. And I think that there is now, and I think 2 years ago we couldn't say this, but I think that there is a group of people, that there's a core group of people who can work in a bipartisan way, and we're very interested in seeing the town go forward. So that work has to continue, regardless of what is on Facebook. Now, we do have the budget on the agenda, and that was one of the questions posed to us. And I just want to say that we did get hurt by the state's budget. It's difficult to say what the bottom line is, but if you look at the revenues from the state that were expected, or even if you compare them to what was budgeted in 2017, now I should do this to what we had expected to get for the 2018 budget, we are $5.3 million lower. Now that number gets mitigated by other things that happen in the budget, like not having to pay for teachers' retirement, but it's challenging. So the budget that we have in front of us will not increase the mill rate any more than what the mayor's emergency mill rate was, and it's a tight budget, I can honestly say. So on that line, so thank you very much. I've been honored to be the chair here. And
Madam Chairman, I have a question. Did the mayor leave? We're not going to get a mayor's
no,
report?
he's over there.
Oh, is there a mayor's report?
He's just, no, we're not there yet. We're still on number 3. So let's move on to communications, bills, petitions, remonstrances. I believe we had none. And now we're on to the mayor's report.
You folks done?
We're done.
I was just checking. 8:40 almost. I don't really have much to report this evening, so I will be brief. One of the things I did want to say, though, is thank you all for your service. We had a variety of personalities on this council, and I know that you did your best, and it was a big learning curve for many. And I wish you luck in the future for those who didn't continue on, and for those who won, congratulations. And I know that we have a number of newly elected folks out here watching the council meeting this evening. I congratulate all of you. Thank you for coming this evening and observing. And you have a large task ahead of you in governing this community. But let me just say this, Stratford is a great town. We're a town that has a lot of opportunity. We're a town that has a lot of potential. I've seen it over the last 8 years. I've seen the changes for the better. And my hope is that we continue in a positive course, we continue to grow carefully, and that we strive to make our community better. And I trust that the newly elected officials who are yet to take the oath of office will be able to do their duties well. So congratulations to all of you. Let's give them a round of applause. We will have a holiday lighting festival. Let's talk about some happy things. Hopefully all of you can attend. It's going to be Monday, November 27th at 5:30 p.m. at Town Hall. Stratford High School Select Choir and Johnson Academy School Choir will be performing, so please come out. Bring your family, bring your friends, and Santa will arrive in a fire truck, and Mrs. Claus will be here also, and they normally do pictures downstairs, so bring the kids, bring the family. Also, next week, November 23rd and 24th, Town Hall will be closed. It's Thanksgiving, so I hope all of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And with that, Madam Chair, let's move on.
Okay, great. Do you have any report on the Stratford Army Engine Plant?
Now, it's the Army Corps of Engineers is still doing their study and their research to come out with a final plan.
And when is that coming out?
Well, based on their timeline, according to them, they are prepared to go out to bid on May of 2019. Every time the federal government sets a date, it tends to get longer. That's been my experience.
Okay, thank you. Any appointments?
Not at this time.
Okay, committee reports.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the council rules to bring forward an ordinance regarding a change in WPCA governance.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of waiving the rules to allow this item to appear on the agenda at this time, say aye.
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 All opposed?
No.
Okay, the motion passes 8-1. The chair votes aye. Okay. Ms. Antosa?
I'd like to offer an ordinance establishing a WPCA board, changing the current governance of the WPCA from the town council to a town council-appointed board of qualified citizens. If you want, I'd read the whole thing. Establish membership. A, there should be a water pollution control authority, a WPCA in the town of Stratford, to consist of 7 members. The 7 members shall be appointed by the town council, and the town council shall appoint such members based on a review of qualifications of nominated candidates for experience and expertise that best serve the interest of the town and the efficient and effective operation of the WPCA. Upon adoption of this ordinance, the town council shall appoint 3 members to serve on the WPCA for terms of 4 years, 2 members to serve on terms of 3 years, and 2 members to serve on terms of 2 years. Any vacancy on the authority shall be filled for the unexpired portion of the term by the town council. In appointing members of the WPCA, the town council shall not appoint more than a bare majority of any political party. B, the town council may, after a public hearing and by 2/3 vote of its entire membership, remove any member of the authority for cause. Quorum. Item 2. 4 members shall constitute a quorum. 3, compensation and expenses. The members of the Water Pollution Control Authority shall serve without compensation, but the necessary expenses of the authority shall be paid through proper appropriation procedures. Chairman, number 4. The members of the WPCA shall choose a chairman from its members by ballot to serve for a term of 2 years or until a successor is duly elected. The WPCA may provide a method of removing an officer as a provision of its bylaws or regulations as may be adopted in accordance with its authorities. 5, powers and duties. The WPCA shall have all the powers provided under Chapter 103 of the Connecticut General Statutes. Number 6, successor to town council, acting as the WPCA as former sewer commission. The WPCA is a successor to the town council, acting as the WPCA as the former sewer commission, and shall assume all of its obligations and duties and be vested with all its rights and authority.
Okay, is there a second for that? We're
Second.
referring this to ordinance. Okay, there's a
Referring to
second.
ordinance.
To the ordinance committee.
This to refer to the ordinance
Yes.
committee, yes.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Kadim. Discussion for the referral to ordinance? Okay, being no discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Thank you very much, Ms. Antezo. Okay,
Chairman?
yes, Mr.
Thank-
Chase.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we take up item 8.1, EPA asthma.
Waiving view rules.
Okay, that's found on page 9, the EPA asthma grant award resolution.
Yes,
Want
Madam
to take
Chairman.
that out of order? Is there a second for that?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Harden. All in favor of taking this out of order, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes 9-0. Okay, Mr. Chase?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I just had it, now I lost it. Do you have it in front of you? Thank you. Thanks. Yes, Madam Chairman, the Health Department's presented us with a grant application fact sheet for the approval of a grant in the amount of $25,000. The local match would be $77,247 in kind. I would move approval of the request by the Stratford Health Department.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Antezo. Discussion? We have the head of the Health Department here, if you have any questions on this. Okay. Yes, Mr. Camp?
No questions, just thank you for doing the due diligence to identify the grant and to successfully apply for it. A good benefit for the health of our community. Thank you.
Okay, being no discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes 9-0. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're back to item 5.2.1.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Can?
Yes, thank you. A motion to take other items out of order. The motion would be to take items 5.2.3, the ordinance committee. There's 4 items under that. That's the motion.
To take
Second.
item 5.2.3 out of order, made by Mr. Can, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Kadim. Okay, all in favor of taking this item out of order, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I'm opposed, actually, but that motion passes 8-1. Okay, so we're on to item 5.2.3,
Point 1.
Madam Chair?
5.2.31.
Madam Chair? Item 5.2.3.1 is the ordinance prohibiting waste associated with natural gas and oil distraction, that we resolved in the ordinance committee that we approved it and that it would become effective 30 days from passage. That we have no outstanding issues regarding the ordinance. As speakers have reminded us, a number of other towns, 40-plus towns, have passed similar verbiage. And for the general well-being of Stratford, it'd be, I hope we pass this tonight.
Second.
Okay? Yes,
The town attorneys have comment on this when you have a moment.
can you speak up, please?
Yeah, the town attorneys have comment on the language of this whenever you call on us.
I'm sorry, I'm having
We have
trouble.
comment on this whenever you're ready
On
to
the
hear it.
natural
Oh,
gas.
okay.
The ordinance, yes.
Okay, Mr. Leclerc, are the town attorney's comments?
The one issue that we flagged on this, after looking at it and talking to Public Works, you have oil waste as defined in section, paragraph 6 at the beginning. to include any liquid that is generated as a result of oil extraction activities. You then go down under prohibitions and prohibit the application of oil waste on any road or real property. One issue you could inadvertently be creating here is a situation where oil extraction activities include the drilling for oil, and you have certain processes used on the roads in town, such as chip seal, or arguably the making of asphalt or asphalt patch itself, that does use oil in those processes. So if you're doing a chip seal on the roads, this would prohibit chip sealing taking place on any of the Stratford roads or maintaining those streets. I think that's something you need to discuss with your Public Works Department or director, or amending the language on that.
Madam Chair?
Madam Chair?
Wait, Mr. Young?
The problem with that is included in this, if you notice, it says oil waste. So it's a derivative from that. It's not actual oil that we'd be using in the process of paving the roads. It's a completely different thing, and they're two things. So when they're fracking, and the waste that comes from that cannot be used in our roads anyhow. So it's the difference between using a petroleum product and a waste product.
Oil waste, though, is defined to mean any liquid generated as a result of oil extraction activities. Arguably, one could argue that oil is generated through oil extraction activities. It's written very broadly.
Madam Chair?
That's the issue we flagged for you to consider.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment about that,
Ms.
too.
Antozo?
If you look at the definition of oil waste, they specifically say any liquid or solid waste or its constituents that generated as a result of oil extraction activities. And they're saying brine, water, chemicals, naturally occurring radioactivities, heavy metals, and other contaminants. It's not the oil itself. When they frack, they take the oil out and they put the water, pump it down, sometimes 2 miles down. And I just saw a video the other night. Oklahoma, which normally had 3 earthquakes a year, now is experiencing, due to fracking and the insertion of the waste water, 1,000 earthquakes a year. And some of them are more severe than they've ever been before. So I don't think we have to quibble about what we're going to put on our roads. It's pretty clear. They're not putting oil back. Oil waste is not the same as oil, as Phil just said.
I just want to say, Mr. Leclerc, this was an issue that was brought up at the Ordinance Committee meeting. I brought this issue up myself and a month ago, and we did not get that advice from the attorneys in the room at the time. Okay, Ms. Manis?
So here's the thing. If you're going to we're going to table this, not pass it, because of this language issue, let's say, because I can feel the lawyering starting. What I'm going to say is that you put our town in danger. Bridgeport has a facility that can accept waste. Bridgeport has a private facility that will, and with open arms, accept the money that comes from this fracking waste. Stratford's facility is equipped to handle this waste. We put Stratford in danger, not just our coastline from Bridgeport, but we put Stratford's plant in jeopardy of then being able to accept this waste, because when they come with 50 trucks, they want to put 25 here and 25 somewhere else. So again, by passing this ban, we not only stop it from happening in town, but we make it harder to bring the trucks to our coastline. And that is really important to do sooner than later, because if you look at the flags that were in that presentation that woman had, there's a whole lot of waste happening in Pennsylvania and upstate New York that I'm scared it's going to come through. And this stuff comes onto our highways. It comes into our roads. I don't want this stuff anywhere near Connecticut. So I think that the wise thing to do is for Stratford to jump on board with the communities surrounding us that have made this decision and move this forward. And if we need to change the language to make it work, I think this needs to happen, and it needs to happen sooner than later. It's a public health hazard, and I know a lot of folks in my district were very happy about this. at passing. One in particular came up to me at the public forum and thanked me for this. So this is important. We need to pass this somehow. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chase?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm having a case of deja vu. All of these arguments were spoken publicly by members of this council, as well as from the public at the last ordinance committee meeting. I don't think this needs to be belabored any further. I call the question, Madam Chairman.
Okay, all in
Second.
favor of, seconded by Mr. Kadim. All in favor of calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion passes 9-0. Now for the question, which is this ordinance, which is unamended right now. All in favor of this ordinance, I need to do a roll call vote, correct? Okay. Mr. Kadim votes yes. Yes. Mr. Hardin votes yes.
Yes.
Mr. Can votes yes.
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 Mr. Young?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that motion passes 9-0, so that ordinance passes. Okay.
Madam Chair, I would like to take something 9.2 out of order. I'm sorry, is another part?
We have 3 more.
No problem.
3 more.
I just saw it.
I think, did we vote on 3 at once?
Possibly we
No,
can
we
vote
did
on
not
3
vote
at
on 3
once.
at once, so,
Oh, we did. We voted to take out of order the 4 items under section 5.2.3.
okay, yes, okay, I'm sorry.
You're talking about the special funds?
Yep.
Correct.
I believe there was
Mr.
a
Leclerc?
question on whether there was a problem with these at this point.
Looking at your agenda, you
So
have
which item, we're dealing with item,
5232, 5233, and 5234.
Correct.
okay, on
Specifically,
page 5.
correct. The authorization is not to create a special revenue fund, but an ordinance in each of those. And the ordinances are not part of your agenda. What's attached and what these refer to are actually just a resolution where therefore the finance director is seeking approval for the establishment of special revenue account and for said funds to be transferred to the created special revenue fund. You need to do that by ordinance under your charter. And we had provided draft ordinances for these plus 1 more. You also need to amend a second ordinance. You need to amend section 14-43 of the ordinance as well, which is currently Article 15, Open Space and Recreation Fund.
So-
Because you should properly have what we've drafted, an open space and property acquisition fund, a revaluation fund, a police special revenue fund, and finally something that doesn't appear, a new recreation fund. And these are items that the CFO has reviewed and agreed with the versions that we provided previously. So I think that the way the agenda is written, you don't have those. You have instead some types of resolutions,
Madam
which
Chair?
are not ordinances,
You
which
don't
need
have
to
the
be
floor,
created.
Mr. Can. Mr. Leclerc, what was on the agenda was exactly what was received from the administration. So you're saying that we got this from the administration in error?
I don't know where you, I think you need to modify to have them as ordinances. They have to
Okay.
be, you actually have to create ordinances, and you need to approve the ordinances previously provided that I believe you had an ordinance committee.
Okay, so you're saying that these items need to be struck, and then we need to add to the agenda the ordinances?
Yeah, just modify this one. You have to strike it. You could just amend
Page
these,
20,
an
page
authorization
21,
to
page-
create
Sorry,
an
Mr.
ordinance,
Can,
not a
you do not
special
have the
revenue
floor.
fund.
I'm trying to listen to him.
You
I'm
need
sorry,
to-
Mr.
you
Leclerc?
can authorize the creation of an ordinance rather than a special revenue fund. You
Okay,
can't just create a fund, you have to pass an ordinance. And those are the ordinances that we have copies of here that you should be doing.
do you have copies of those for the entire council?
I have, you should have these already, I have them for the clerk, we can make copies if we need to. I have revaluation, property acquisition, and police special revenue respectively.
Madam Chairman, we don't have those ordinances. May I speak?
Yes, Mr. Chase.
Mr. Leclerc, could we just take these 3 items as they are on the agenda and refer them to the ordinance committee where we could then amend them?
They've been there already. You could send them again.
Had the first reading.
Right.
So we wouldn't have, so if we created we're creating an ordinance now for these items, they wouldn't have to go back? I mean, no, but they were there as resolutions. Well, no, you're just saying, I mean, then why can't we just vote on these? Well, shouldn't it be corrected in the ordinance committee
We can correct
at any time? Okay, no, I'll buy that.
Yeah, you can't just pass them like this because they don't do what you want them to do. They don't do anything, actually. As worded.
Madam Chair.
So, Mr. Leclerc, again, do you,
Right, correct.
I-
Right. Yeah, so someone should amend each of these to read authorization to create an ordinance. And then,
Madam Chairman, I'd like to see these handwritten. I never received them.
okay, I think it's, I'm sorry.
I've got extra copies from ordinance if you want.
Madam Chair.
They're already there.
Wait 1 second.
How do they get?
They are in the packet.
Can we can either take a quick recess and have copies made, or we can move on with the other agenda and have, with the rest of
Why don't
the,
you make it quick?
or we can make the copies during executive session. So can we table this for now? Then we'll
Just
come right back to it.
with a request, please, are the ordinances that you were just handed different than what's on pages 20, 21, and 22?
That's the problem, there are no ordinances on those pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The answer is yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there a motion to table this for now?
It says
And then,
instead
is
of
there a
Second.
second?
fourth.
Okay, all in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that motion passes 9-0. So that's
Madam
tabled.
Chair, I had a question, because there's a lot of people waiting, and I know we got a lot of things going on. I wanted to move 9.2 out of order, just so that we can quickly go through that, if that's okay.
The item-
On
page
page,
is that
on
on?
page 10.
The last one.
Second,
Thank you.
Okay. So this is the El Grasso Regional Center. There was a motion to move that out of order and seconded. All in favor of moving that, taking that up now, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes 9-0. Chair votes aye. Okay, we're handed the copy of the lease on this item. This would allow, this is a, I'm going to call, I think, Representative Joe Gresco up on this item, if you're ready. This is the El Grasso Center.
Still here? Oh, there it is.
I'm sorry?
Still here?
I'll call up Laura Hoydick for this. Thank you very much.
Mayor-elect.
Mayor-elect Hoydick.
Teamwork.
What happened to
Just didn't want these guys to be here all night
Actually,
for
just to
nothing.
do this correctly, is there a motion to accept this lease?
Motion, yes, so move.
Okay,
Second.
made by Mr. Kadim,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Manis. Okay, discussion? Representative Hoydick, would you like to walk us through this lease?
Surely,
And
as
tell us, give us the background for this?
as the council may or may not know, the El Grasso Regional Center was closed by the Department of Disability Services, and consequently, it went on the state surplus rolls. No state department or agency wanted the property, so we, as the delegation, requested that it be conveyed to Stratford. During that time, we've had many residents using the pool for therapeutic reasons, and as the clients were dispatched to other facilities, though the pool was open, it ended up being closed, and our lifeguards who were supplying services were no longer utilized. In the course of the conversations with the delegation and DSS and OPM and DAS, and I can tell you all those acronyms if you'd like to know, but they're all state agencies or departments. They agreed to lease the pool to us for our services, whether it's within town or out of town, or to be provided by a private vendor during the interim until the property can be conveyed and the town council decides to accept the property. So this is where we are right now. We have a lease document for your review. There is a certain dollar amount that we'll need to upgrade the pool, so it's per the safety requirements of the fire marshal and the building codes, and then we will be able to go to a third-party vendor or deploy our own recreation department to operate the pool for Stratford and possibly the region.
Okay. Mr. Can?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Mayor-elect Hoydick. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You may, regarding the financials, I had a short conversation with Chris Timiak that it will require, the facility is in good condition, $5,000 to bring it up to standards, if you will, any repairs of filters or replacement of parts, and that while there's operating costs involved, electricity, heat, maintenance of the plant, that the revenue that the town will gain by leasing it to some of these third parties or by having hourly rental fees will more than compensate for the costs of operations, and that many individuals in the town miss it, look forward to it being reopening. Seniors, members of our community with disabilities, it should be a large asset and get us on the road to possibly gaining the larger property with its residential facilities. But this is a first step, will provide an important, valuable community asset. And thank you for bringing it to us today.
You're welcome. It was our pleasure to work on this project.
Okay, Mr. Kadim?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mayor-elect, congratulations again. And thank you for the hard work in making it possible so that the seniors and all of the people who need to use that facility will be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chase?
One quick question. This is a lease between Stratford and the state of Connecticut.
I think specifically it might be the Department of Administrative Services.
Right, which is part of the state of Connecticut.
That is correct.
So we're leasing it from the state. Was there any way that we could just obtain the property from the state?
Well, we will through the conveyance process, which is done when we're in session. We're in special session now, technically, but the conveyance process will not go until probably May of 2018, when we convey state property to towns or wherever. So
this is just
This
for
is
the
late.
interim
Yes, this
period until we actually
the conveyance.
acquire the property?
Correct.
Got it, I understand, thank you.
And I just want to point out, and tell me if I'm wrong, that we are able to sublease it to others, to other entities.
that was our intent. I have not seen the lease document, but the CAO has, and he's reviewed it.
To answer your question, yes, we can sublease it. I gave certain examples to DAS when we met with them. We had a full building walkthrough. Everybody was there from the town, the fire marshal, the building inspector, the health department, Public Works was there as well. They went over a small list. Our guys went over a small list of things we have to do to bring the building up to code. It was estimated somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. We need to upgrade the, exit lights, the exit doors, that type of thing. A couple filters in the pool need to be replaced, the filter covers, and then we were ready to go. When we had that conversation, subleasing came up. We are certainly allowed to sublease. He gave me examples of other state properties which do something similar in the meantime, and this is a good opportunity for us to reopen the pool, and then when the conveyance process goes forward, we'll have a head start on what we need to do moving forward. So I think it's a great opportunity for us.
Okay, Ms. Manis?
So as a member of the YMCA board a couple months ago, when about a week before Representative Hoydick and Gresco, McGorty and company met with them, we were at a meeting and we mentioned that they wanted another pool and their pool is being used, and mentioned El Grasso, and at that point it was still closed. They were, or it was being used for like $1, I don't know. So one of the things we mentioned was that the YMCA does affordable housing projects and public housing projects across the country. They were very interested in being involved with not just the pool restoration, but actually the whole complex restoration. They wanted to be part of that, and I guess they had spoken to you at the legislative meeting that week. But I hope that that connection is explored more, because I know Barbara Moore, who's over there, was into kind of going in that direction. They've never done anything like that in Stratford. So that's another avenue. I won't be here anymore to advocate for you, but I'll be on that board. I would hope that they would be one of those people that you might lease to, because there is a need for senior housing in the north end of Stratford. People don't want to leave where their churches are and where their community is, and that's a nice little area where there's a lot to do, and you don't need transportation kind of things. It would be really nice if we could make that complex available for public housing for our elderly population and actually flip some of our neighborhoods. People want to leave their houses, but it's just not affordable. So,
Ms. Manis, I want to make sure that we don't get off the agenda. This lease is only for the Natorium.
right, but I'm
Okay,
saying that,
so
that entire
let's-
property is available. If it becomes available, they want to do something with it, and they're a partner in town. So please explore that, because it's an opportunity up there, and I don't want to see it become a jail. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Chase?
Well, you just cautioned the good lady that she might be going off the subject, but I did want to respond to something. You said the YMCA was interested in building and sponsoring low-income housing?
No,
Then you must have misspoke. You said low-income housing. I'm sure we don't want low-income housing in the 10th District.
public housing for senior citizens.
Thank you.
That's what they do.
Okay, being no more discussion, I'd like to call the question. All in favor of approving this lease, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Thank you very much to our state representatives for having this presented to us. Thank you, and thank you to the administration for that. Being a swimmer, I'm very excited that I will be able to swim in warm water when I am not as active. Okay. Now, let's get back to the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is it's an ordinance adopting the annual operating budget for the town of Stratford for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2017, and ending June 30th, 2018, and appropriating the sum of $220,358,957 in accordance therewith, and then the rest is written. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I so move, Madam Chairman.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Harden. Thank you very much. Okay, made by Mr. Chase, seconded by Mr. Harden.
Madam Chairman?
Is there an amendment to be offered to that budget?
I would like to make a comment about this particular ordinance, which is stated, it was referred to council from ordinance committee meeting on May 8th. I checked the ordinance minutes, and May 8th minutes are missing. However, the following town council meeting refers to the ordinance appropriation as follows, and it basically says that an ordinance adopting the annual operating budget for the town of Stratford for the fiscal year, this was sent from an ordinance, commencing July 1st, 2017, and ending June 30th, 2018, and appropriating the sum of $216,199,075 in accordance therewith. So it appears that ordinance never passed a 220,300, I'll get it right, 220,358,957. So this has not been passed. So it's saying it's been passed, but it hasn't been.
No, it hasn't been passed.
No,
You're
well,
right.
this says this was referred to council from ordinance.
Referred but not passed.
This was not referred even. The one that was referred.
The budget was referred to the
one that
town
was
council.
referred was 216
We have tried
million.
many times. I'm going to call on Mr. Leclerc because I did check with the town attorneys. I was very sensitive to the process of passing a budget, so I did check ahead of time in terms of notice requirements. Mr. Leclerc?
This is the amount you had, I believe it was the May 4th agenda, the same dollar amount that appears, the 220,358,957, which you could now amend to whatever number you so choose.
Okay,
What?
thank you. Is there an amendment to be offered?
Excuse me, could he
Is there
just
amendment to be
repeat what he
offered?
said?
Oh, he said that this was referred to the town council and this can be amended now. So I'm asking, is there an amendment to this to be offered?
Madam Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Chase.
I'd like to offer an amendment to the ordinance adopting the annual operating budget for the town of Stratford, Connecticut for fiscal years July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, To decrease the appropriation by $1,691,864 and to decrease revenues by $3,862,798. This will result in the mayor's amended budget, and in addition to subsequent events, the mill rate as a result of this change will increase by .03 mils from the mayor's original proposed budget.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second for that amendment? Is there a second for that amendment? Mr. Leclerc?
I think is the amendment changing the appropriating sum? It says, and appropriating the sum of, right now it's 220 million. I'm not clear. I think the record should be clear. You talked about increasing expenses and deleting revenues, but what is the sum that's appropriated by the budget? That's what you need in your ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Leclerc. The ordinance adopting annual operating budget for the town of Stratford for fiscal year commencing July 1, 2017 and ending June 30th, 2018, and appropriating the amount of $220,358,957 in accordance therein, and we're adopting it based the amendment that I just read.
No, Mr. Leclerc, I believe to answer your question, though, that the total amount would be $218,669,013. That's the amended
Madam Chair,
budget.
I have a question for Mr.
No, I'm sorry, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second for that motion? Second. Okay, there's a second for the amended
have a
motion.
question
Now we
for
can have
Ms.
discussion.
I have a question for Attorney Leclerc. Would this then have to go back to ordinance? Why not?
Once an item goes to ordinance and it's before the body, this body can amendment. All the amendments do not have to go back to ordinance. As you recall from all the previous budget meetings you've had, you've made a number of amendments. Those did not go back to ordinance each time an amendment was made. It just must begin in the ordinance committee, go there once, get sent out of ordinance committee. Now this body can, at its pleasure, amend as it sees fit any ordinance. Does not have to go back again.
I guess what I'm having a problem with is the fact that this 220 million never came out of ordinance to begin with. Even though it said it did, it didn't.
Mitzi, it did. When you had voted on the budgets that were subsequently vetoed, those had come out of ordinance.
Those came out of ordinance.
They were amended on the council floor. That's that 220 million. All those budgets that were passed were amendments on the council floor, just like we're doing tonight.
I believe they were amended in ordinance, but anyway.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this budget? Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Can?
before we vote on the budget, there's probably half of the amendments I would ask for some detailed clarification and what I'll term as substantiation. An example of that would be expenditures under contingency, contract settlements, reducing the item by $692,000.
Okay, can I bring up the finance director or the CAO? Perhaps both of them could come up to the podium, so if you have specific questions, they can be answered.
So if I have a number of questions, can I?
Well, if there are other people who want to ask questions, I will also.
Oh.
You aren't going to be able to, you can start with one, and then we'll see if other people have a question.
Okay.
And we'll come back to you.
All right. Gentlemen, I guess I'll start out with a little backstory that I spent the summer being told that it would be impossible to cut contingency. And we now have roughly 30 days after, 60 days after our last vetoing of the budget, an item that's saying contract settlement contingencies can be chopped by a third. So we went from impossible, Mr. Can, you don't know what you're talking about, to $690,000 reduction. What did we learn over the last few days that substantiates why we can reduce our contract settlement contingency?
Yes, that was the settlement of the Public Works contract that was settled after, subsequent to the original proposed budget.
Was it settled before August of 2017?
Well, it was settled in May, I think. It was settled in May.
But so the recognition, if it was settled in May, the recognition that our actual expense was $692,000 could have occurred in June, July, August, September. You see the point I'm making is if we had an event that mitigated the need for the $692,000, which did occur after the original budget.
Sorry, I just need to interrupt for a second. Are you asking about, I thought you wanted clarification on what the item was. Now, are you asking them to vindicate you? That's a different question. And, I mean, it sounds like that is, and maybe that's a fair question too, but right now we're trying to pass or not
I
pass
guess
the
I'm
budget.
trying to be a little more, if I don't have a chance to address the other, for example, revenue concerns that I have,
You can ask specific questions on the item in front of you.
then it's more about the process. I have
That's a different
the,
question.
well,
Can I add up?
so we had a budget that was presented on Wednesday. Chris, excuse me, I don't think I'm off base by speaking to the process and how our budget
No, I
is.
just wanted to add to the previous question you asked. Prior to the last budget we discussed, we've had the Public Works, Police, and Dispatch contracts, which are all factored in to come up with the new number, which we have here in front of you today. So it wasn't just Public Works, it was Police and Dispatch in addition, additionally. So it was three contracts.
Are there, any other council, Mr. Young?
If I'm looking at the amendment that was handed out to us, I just got some general questions I'd like to ask, them, some specific ones, actually.
Could you use your mic, please? Yeah.
For instance, how did we get an increase of $140,000 from revenues from the police department?
Yes, I can answer that. Basically, let me start off with the revenue figures. The original budget was dealt in February. These figures are more recent, so we have 4 months under our belt to really determine what these things are. For instance, under the police budget, in 2017, we estimated $25,000. We actually made $108,000. In this year's current budget, we estimated $60,000, and in 4 months, we collected $53,000. A lot has to do with the police on their parking. They're taking in a lot of parking revenues. So this is, we can actually calibrate this to make it a little bit more accurate.
I'll add to that. We reran all of our revenue numbers in. We're faced with the reality of the state giving us less money than we anticipated. So we're 4 months into, essentially 5 months into this fiscal year. Our hands are tied is what we can do as far as expense goes. We reran every revenue number we had and put in new projections based upon 4 quality months of actual experience. Those are actuals, which we put in there. So when he says we're at 53,000 today, and we budgeted 60,000 was our projection, we're going to far exceed that projection now. So we increased the revenue projections in an effort to bounce the shortcoming we have from the state right now.
Yeah, no, it's just, that's $140,000 is significant. It's not just like, you know, going from 82,000 to 88,000. That's a full $140,000. That's significant.
And the previous year, we also had lower revenue projections, so now we're actually starting to plug in the real number of new management decisions which have occurred, which is good.
Yeah. Couple other questions. When I look at some of the budget expenditures, and you've got, on the right-hand column, you've got figures here that I guess would be savings.
The very right-hand column?
Yes. Yes.
That's,
Are
those
these
numbers,
just- Are they just supposed to be general numbers in there? I mean, not specific? Because they don't match up.
Wait, which?
I'm looking at page of the expenditure budget.
Yeah.
And if you look at the right-hand corner, you've got your parentheses, 40,000, 72,000, 5,000.
Right here.
I mean,
that's the difference between the mayor's original proposed budget in the Green Book here, which is not listed on this amendment, and the number that's listed in the amendment. So that,
well, I'm just looking at the month, the numbers don't match up.
no, they wouldn't match up. Because there should, I mean, to make it perfectly clear, there could have been another column that had what was in this book. That's not on here. So that $40,000 is $40,000 less than what the council clerk line was in the Green Book.
Okay, well, wouldn't it be
It was $144,000.
$38,000 if you were doing correct accounting? I mean,
I'm sorry?
right?
They do?
I'm just saying the numbers don't add up. That's all I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Got like 142 there, 104, 40,000. If you're just using round numbers, it's okay. But I didn't see that. Half of these numbers don't add up.
No, they don't. They're not meant to.
It just stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't. You're right. Wait, that's supposed to be less.
It's supposed to be 38.
Yeah, it's close. But,
Right, that's what I mean, they're all
but
close, but
this
they're not.
one's more, not less.
This one here is supposed to be 689.
This one's more, and it's not 75.
That's
Madam Chairman.
09. It's supposed to be $20,000 less, so that'd be 680.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Chase?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Frankly, this is getting embarrassing, you know? They keep giving us numbers, and we keep finding problems with them. Now, something doesn't add up. Is that correct, Mr. Young?
The numbers just don't match.
They don't add up, okay?
I'm
Now,
sorry.
you and I went through this, and I thought we had it down. I mean,
We
you
did,
know.
and that one number, it looks like there's an error in that one
Right.
number, and
Well-
I'm not sure.
One of these numbers is wrong.
So therefore, Madam Chairman, I would move we table this item.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to table in a second. All in favor of tabling, say aye.
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 All opposed? I'm opposed to tabling it. Okay, that motion passes 8-1. Okay. One thing that we do need to do tonight,
Let me kind of explain. We have budgeted 2017. I don't know, Phil, what are you referring to here?
Excuse me?
What are you referring to? What doesn't add up here? This was only a memo.
It's tabled.
Is it tabled?
it is tabled.
So we
I'd
don't
like
have
to
to
call a
discuss
recess for a few minutes.
Recess, 2 minutes, Beth?
Okay, we're back in session. I just want to say, as chairman, that one of our responsibilities as council persons is to pass budgets. And it is really not good that we did not pass a budget last May. It was terrible that we did not pass a budget as of July 1st. We are working under an emergency budget that the mayor ordered as of July 1st. That mill rate is 39.97. Tax bills for motor vehicles have not gone out and cannot go out until this council passes a budget. We've learned from the town attorneys that the mill rate for the motor vehicles, that issue, because it's a component of the budget, cannot be separated from the entire budget. This town needs to send out tax bills. This town needs to codify the emergency budget. The amendment that was tabled, that was in front of this council, was simply codifying the current mill rate. The amendment cut a couple of $1 million from the mayor's proposed budget. Those cuts are difficult, and they were made because the state's funding for this town decreased by over $5 million. It is up to this council, not the next council. You were elected to a 2-year term. Even though we made some goodbye speeches tonight, we are still in our term. We still have obligations, we still have responsibilities, and one of our big responsibilities is to fund the schools, to fund the garbage collection, to fund the streets, and to fund everything else, and to codify that funding. Not be the only town in Connecticut that doesn't have a budget, in a state that didn't have a budget. But we're going to be, I would like this council to be functional and pass the amended budget in front of us. Now, we can quibble with certain things, but really, since the mayor's office has the power to move monies between departments, what we're really passing is one number.
Madam Chairman.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Chase.
I believe the questions that were raised before we tabled the amendment have been answered. Therefore, I would move that we remove the amended budget off the table.
Okay, is there a second for that? To take that off the table?
Second.
Okay. I'd like to vote on taking that item off of the table. Mr. Kadim?
No.
Mr. Kadim votes no to take that off the table. Mr. Hardin votes yes.
No.
Mr. Can votes no.
No.
Mr. Young votes no.
No.
Ms. Antezo votes no.
Yes.
Mr. Chase votes yes.
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn votes yes.
No.
Ms. Manis votes no, and the chair votes yes. So with a 5-4 vote, 5 of my colleagues up here think that it's not even worth discussing anymore, the budget. 5 of my colleagues think it's not worth discussing how we are going to fund the schools. The motion fails. It is not off of the table. If anybody changes their mind on that before the end of the night, please inform me. So since we have not passed a budget, we're at 5.2.1. That was not passed. There's no point in levying a tax rate, which is 5.2.1.2. Is there a motion to put that on the table also?
Motion.
Okay, Mr. Can makes a motion to put the tax rate on the table. Is there a second for that? Okay, that's not seconded. Okay, let's talk about a tax rate for a budget that we haven't passed. Anybody want to make that resolution? Mr. Can?
Move right along.
Anybody else? What are we doing with this item? Does anybody want to pass a budget?
No.
Nobody wants to pass a budget. Okay, so we're talking about levying a tax rate. There's no motion?
I don't believe anyone made the motion, so absent a motion, you can't take any action. You should just move on to the
Okay.
next item on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about something that maybe people feel like talking about. 5.2.2, which is the Planning Commission. Anybody want to talk about the Planning Commission? Make a resolution?
Middle of page 4.
Madam Chair,
Ms.
During the
Manis?
planning commission meeting of October 17th, the following was referred to the town council for adoption with a favorable recommendation. Complete streets policy. The planning commission found the policy is consistent with the plan of conservation and development's goal and objectives in that it looks to promote safer streets for all modes of transportation. I move to accept their recommendation and their favorable recommendation by this body.
Is there a second for that, or would somebody like to put that on the table?
Second.
Ms. Antezzo is a second. Is there a discussion, or would somebody like to put this on the table?
Madam Chair, if I may, I'd like to thank the Planning Commission and the Complete Streets folks for all of their work on this particular project. I know Christina Kazanzas, who is no longer with us, worked very hard as the grants writer, and Harold Watson, one of the new planning commissioners, was also instrumental on this. They came out to my community networking forum 2 years ago and presented this project to folks in District 10. They set up a beautiful event, so I'm glad to see it is now passing through the Planning Commission 2 years later.
Okay, I have Mr. Chase.
Yeah, is there anyone here from the Planning Commission? I've got some questions. No. Maybe Ms. Manis knows. During the presentations and public comment, there were a number of questions concerning the way parking was configured on a number of streets in town. And I don't see where those were addressed. Can you shed some light on that?
All I remember about the particulars of the project is that there would be the new types of sidewalks with the gravel sides. It would involve moving some of the traffic flow from 4 lanes to just 2. It would change some of that.
No, I understand
Would take away
that.
some of the
I'm referring to the parking, particularly on sections of Elm Street and in Stratford Center.
Stratford Center would be very different. It looks very different. You have to look at the plans, the diagrams.
No, I've seen them.
It looks completely different with parking.
And there was some recommendations made at those, I want to call them hearings, but they weren't really hearings. They were asking for public comment.
I think Mr. Can has more information about that.
Mr.
He might
Can?
have that particular meeting.
Mr. Can?
Thank you. I remember that question being raised, and the answer from the planning folks at that time, a month ago, was that it's a preliminary design that they're approving, somewhat like the preliminary design we had for replacement of Center School. It wasn't a final, it was a potential. So the actual final design on how the parking spaces and how the plantings and the setbacks are still to be finalized before they go out to bid. But those were the preliminary drafts. We're not wedded to them or committed to them. We're just approving the direction.
Why would we approve that before we had the final plan in front of us?
Madam
Hey,
Chair.
Mr. Llewellyn?
2 things that I want to point out really quick. First of all, Complete Streets is actually an offshoot program that's part of the overall TOD program. And what's before us tonight is really a policy. So it's really nothing sort of specific or site-specific or even area-specific. I know that this project, last I remember, it's split up into 7 or 8 different phases, and as Mr. Can alluded to, those phases would each have their own sort of level of details and how they address the parking in those various sections. What's before us tonight is a policy that's been referred with favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Madam Chairman?
Okay, yes,
Yeah, no, I understand it is a policy. The problem is we're being asked to vote on something that would allow them, under the TOD as well as this, to do certain things that constituencies object to. And I think once we pass this policy, we've given up any right to amend whatever plan they decide they want. And I could be wrong, but I do have a lot of questions regarding this. Therefore, Madam Chairman, I would move to table this item.
Second.
Okay, then there was a second to table. All in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion to table passes 9-0.
Madam Chairman?
Yes. Chase.
The other items before us,
Can we take item 5.3.1 out of order, please?
I think it might actually
It might be in order, but,
Yeah.
okay. Item 5.3.1, Town Attorney's Report. Do you have any report other than the executive?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a motion to go into executive session? The people involved in the executive session will be the town attorneys, Mr. Hodgson, Mr. Leclerc, Mr. Florek, the mayor, the 9 town council persons who are here, and I think that's it. Is that it?
And Madam Chairman, you should also note for the record that's to discuss pending litigation
This is to discuss pending litigation. and
regarding Reef
specifically
LLC.
Reef LLC.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman.
So moved?
Madam Chairman, I have a question before we move on this. Are there any other items that you intend to take up after we go into executive session?
Probably, but can it be so moved to get into executive session, please?
I just want to let the other members of the council, there's an item here regarding Booth Park that needs to be addressed this evening.
Okay, we will do that.
One request, Madam Chair.
Is there a motion to go into executive session? Can somebody make that?
So move.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Young. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes 9-0.
Carol, have you produced the order?
Of executive session, is there a motion to pass what was discussed in executive session?
Madam Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve for the town attorney to proceed as discussed in executive session with regards to item 5.3.1.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Kadim, made by Mr. Llewellyn. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes 9-0. I'd like to take item 5. Would somebody make a motion to take item 5.2.3.3? Wait,
Madam-
I'm sorry, wait.
Madam
might be-
Chairman? Madam Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Chase.
I would move that we take item 5.2.3.2 off the table.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Llewellyn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion passes 9-0. Okay, Mr. Chase, I'll let you walk us through this one.
I know I have a low voice, but geez.
This is regarding the open space, the special fund to be developed for open space and property acquisition fund.
5.2.2.
Yes, Madam Chair.
5.2.2.3.2. Yes. Mr. Llewellyn?
I would make a motion that there is hereby established within the financial accounts of the town of Stratford an open space and property acquisition fund to receive and disperse fees paid to the town of Stratford under and by virtue of Section 8-25B of the Connecticut General Statutes, the purpose of which fund is to acquire by purchase additional land for open space or for public recreation. Appropriations from such fund shall be made by the town council upon approval by the planning commission in accordance with subsection 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes. And this is being moved as sent to the council from the ordinance committee.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Harden. Okay, since this is the final passage of an ordinance, we need to do a roll call vote. Mr. Kadim? do you
No.
vote- You vote no for that, okay? Mr. Harden?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Can?
Yes.
Mr. Young? Yes. Okay. Ms. Antes?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Yes.
Ms. Manis? Ms. Manis?
Yeah.
And the chair votes yes also. That motion passes 8-1. Okay, we're on item 5.2.3.3. Again, it's authorization to create a special revenue fund.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Chase.
It's articles for the Police Special Revenue Fund. There is hereby created within the financial accounts of the town of Stratford.
Do the one before.
What?
Hold on. I got it.
Oh,
Revaluation.
Yeah, I got it, okay. Article, revaluation fund. Section creation purpose, intent A, there is hereby created within the financial accounts of the town of Stratford a special revenue fund known as the reevaluation fund. The purpose of said fund is to account financially for the operations of the tax assessor's department in connection with property revaluation as required by the Connecticut General Statutes. B, the tax assessor's department shall submit to the mayor a proposed annual budget for the revaluation fund, including both an appropriation request setting forth the proposed appropriation from the general fund and expenditures. Section disclosure statement of financial activities. The revaluation fund shall disclose and report all activities of the fund at the end of each fiscal year. All financial activities of the revaluation fund shall be conducted in accordance with pronouncements and/or regulations of the Government Accounting Standards Board, the GASB. I so move, Madam Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hardin. Discussion? Okay, since this is an ordinance, again, this is the final passage. This will be by roll call vote. Mr. Kadim?
No.
Yes.
Mr. Hardin?
Yes.
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 And the chair votes yes. That passes 8-1. Okay, and we're now at 5.2.3.4. Again, this is authorization to create a special revenue fund regarding, this is the police special revenue fund.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Chase?
Yes, Madam Chairman, resolved that the second reading of the above entitled ordinance be dispensed with, as copies thereof have been received by all council members, and the foregoing be and is hereby approved effective within 30 days from passage. I will amend that with the following section. Police Special Revenue Fund. There is hereby created within the financial accounts of the town of Stratford a special revenue fund known as the Police Special Revenue Fund. The purpose of said fund is to account financially for the operations of the police department in connection with the utilization of extra-duty police officers' vehicles for the purpose of traffic control on road and utility projects, special events, and other purposes. Section disclosure statement financial activities. The Police Special Revenue Fund shall disclose and report all activities of the fund at the end of each fiscal year. All financial activities of the Police Special Revenue Fund shall be conducted in accordance with pronouncements and/or regulations of the Government Accounting Standards Board, the GASB.
Okay, is there a second for that? Seconded by Mr. Hardin. Okay, again, this is an ordinance, so we're going to do roll call vote. This is final passage. Okay, Mr. Kadim?
Yes.
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 Mr.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 9-0. Okay, now, are there any questions to the town attorney? Yep. Yes, Ms. Manis?
Hi. I just have a question for clarification regarding the lawsuit that I am facing from Mr. Gerald Kiley, which I will not go into detail because I can't, because it's an active lawsuit. However, I want to ask the town attorney here in front of everyone, Mr. LeClaire, do you remember writing a letter dated April 24th, which said in essence that I would be offered a defense by the town of Stratford according to general state statutes, but that any damages due to slander would not be covered? Do you remember writing that letter? Mr. Hodgson, did you get a copy of that letter? I don't recall. Okay, you were CC'd on that letter. I have a copy here. I will forward it to you. My question is that in September, August, there was an article in the newspaper, in the Connecticut Post, and it said, Manis was there as a town, not as a town council member, but rather a citizen speaking in opposition to the development idea. And the article went on to say that it was unclear who my defense would be, and that I was working on behalf of myself. Did they get that information from you? Did anyone from the newspaper speak with you? Okay. Did anyone speak to you from the newspaper?
Yes, I spoke to the newspaper.
Okay, at that point, did you tell them that I was not receiving a defense?
At that point, I had not reviewed the record of that hearing, and I was able to take a look at that record, and after that, which was in, I would say, in the last 3 weeks, they were able to see, and you stood up and said, "I'm here on behalf of the 10th District." That was not clear before then. So I did make a determination within the last 3 weeks that the town should provide you with a defense, and the town has sent you a letter to that effect.
Well, actually, the letter is dated April 24th of last year, so that
No,
was,
I'm talking about the letter I sent you, I'd say 3 weeks ago?
yes.
Okay.
There was a letter dated April 17th, which you said you were not aware,
I
you
don't
had not
remember if I
reviewed the
saw it in
cover.
April or not.
Okay, so on April 17th, I believe I received a letter saying that you were still reviewing the case. Mr. Leclerc sent one outlining the general statutes and basically saying my rights. My concern and my question, another question that I have, is that I was filing pro se to protect the town from damages. Can you explain to people what would have happened had you not filed an appearance on my behalf and this had gone into a default judgment? What would have happened had this gone into default judgment?
Well, you had appeared. The case has just gotten going. We made a decision that we're going to provide you with defense. To me, frankly, it was borderline. But we're going to provide the defense like we promised, and we wish you the best with the case.
Thank you. I just want to be clear that the appearance was filed the last possible day, and it was actually backdated due to a woman who lives near there, who works in the judicial, that said no appearance was filed on my behalf by the town of Stratford. If this had gone into default, the town would have been liable for all of those damages because the town attorneys did not follow through. A town attorney, an attorney, cannot pull or negate a defense if you've been offered one in writing. So I appreciate that you've done this, but I want to be clear in the future that I don't know who told you to not do it, but you put it in writing to me, and I'm extremely concerned that someone in the future this might happen to, and that our town will be liable.
Councilman Manis, you have an obligation when you're sued to notify the town attorney's office. The town was not a party to your lawsuit. The town was never served with legal process. You can't just assume the town is going to monitor the judicial department and all of you to see if you happen to have been sued for anything. You have an obligation to formally request a defense, which you've never done.
Yes, I did, and I formally forwarded all paperwork to you when the claim was given to me in April.
No.
and I was
In
told
April, there was no
town-
lawsuit. You got a letter from an attorney, an out-of-state attorney, threatening litigation. You were not served with a lawsuit until many months later, and the town was not made a party, and you never sent that in, that I'm aware of, making a demand of the town to provide a defense to you.
I wouldn't defend it if it was promised to me in April, but I thank you
Well,
for...
we're not mind readers either to find out if you've been sued.
It's okay. Well, you spoke with the newspaper, so you knew. But that's fine. Thank you very much. You've answered all my questions.
Are there any other questions for the town attorney?
Well,
Mr. Chase?
I found that discussion very interesting. If the defendant...
Could you use your microphone, please?
Yeah. If the defendant loses, who's responsible for all of the costs?
By statute, the town is not responsible for claims of defamation made against a town officer.
Okay. So does that mean Ms. Manis would be responsible for all of the costs?
Under the statute, yes. And the town could ask, if there was a verdict against her, the town could ask that the attorney's fees be repaid.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask, what sort of liability is the town facing possibly? Just I'm sorry, I was asking you to... Just attorney's fees, so okay. Thank you. Are there any questions to the mayor or his staff? Okay, I have one question.
Madam Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Llewellyn.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, as this will be our last opportunity to ask questions to you, there's been an item that's been moving back and forth through the Short Beach Commission as well as the Harbor Waterfront Commission. And what that item centers around is establishing a marked designated swimming area down at Short Beach. So apparently, that's been moved from Harbor Waterfront, but hasn't been through council yet. I just want to ensure that once you get a motion from the council, either this one or the next one, that you'll be able to take the paperwork that you've already signed and authorized and executed and work with the DEEP and get that swimming area in place for next spring.
I know that's in the works now. I'm sure the next mayor will take care of that.
Excellent.
You've done all the heavy lifting.
Excellent. Thank you very much for taking care of that. On behalf of the Short Beach Commission, we greatly appreciate your efforts and assistance with that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions to the mayor or staff? Mr. Kadim?
I just want to just state, not so much in the question form and just a general conversation form, is that I thank you for all your service and all the experience I had with you. I learned a lot from you. Thank you for your time and your staff. I greatly appreciate all of you. Take care and God bless with your future endeavors.
Thank you, Wally.
Sir.
I have a question. What are the implications of not having a budget tonight?
The next town council will have to pass a budget. I mean, we need to get a mill rate set, and
But motor vehicle bills will not be going out?
no, not until the town council sets the rate and passes a budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other question I have, the Shakespeare RFP, is that listed yet?
No, it will definitely be listed, maybe even tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What? Wait. I love you, Chris. Don't say maybe.
Yeah.
When's it gonna be?
So I just got back from Florida, and I gave it to John Casey to review. It should be all set. I've notified the purchasing department that we'll be sending it out. John Casey reviewed what Marvel contractor sent us, I think, on Wednesday. Friday was Veterans Day, so I didn't connect with John on Thursday before I left, and I landed.
Okay, so today is Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. Will it get posted tomorrow?
If John gives me the thumbs up and there were no other changes, which I didn't see any in my email, I'm all set to post away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we want to move on this quickly before the next council takes their seats.
If John's approved everything in there, which I haven't seen any recommendations not to move forward with it, there's nothing stopping us from hitting post.
Okay. I don't want to quote Wally, but, you know, I love you.
Yeah. No, I was trying to do it on Thursday. I wanted to do it last Thursday, so.
Okay. Any other questions for mayor or staff? Being none, the unfinished business and/or old business, the cost of the dog park, that's tabled. We shall keep that on the table unless there's an objection. The Park Commission we need to get to. I'm going to let Mr. Chase, being on the Booth Park Commission, walk us through this. We're all familiar with this from the last meeting, I believe. Or do you just want to make the resolution?
I'm going to make a motion, a resolve that the recommendation of the Booth Park Commission is accepted, and the purchase by the town of personal property located at Booth Park from the trust of David B. Booth and Stephen N. Booth for $1 be and is hereby approved.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Harden. Okay. I'm sorry.
Madam Chairman.
No, actually, I saw him. I have eyes.
Yeah, you have eyes, but you don't have ears.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chase?
Just to give the council some background, we frankly can't stop the trustee, being Chase Manhattan Bank, J.P. Morgan now, from turning around and selling the property. And we don't want to take the risk of the trustee doing that. If in fact that happened, we'd have no more museum. I mean, the whole purpose of Booth Park, the various buildings, is a museum, so that people can look at things from the town's past. There's a number of questions that are still up in the air. We'll take possession of the items, but there's still a question as to whether or not the bank wants to continue as trustee. I'll be open about this. My concern with that is that if they try to dissolve the trust and turn the money that's left in the trust over to the town, Booth Park may never see that money. So I would prefer to see eventually, and I hope that next town council would move in this direction of looking for a new trustee. Fortunately, the probate court will have the final say, but I think the courts would look closely at what the town wanted to do. I don't know if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Mr. Can?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Chase is removing themselves as the trustee.
That's, Mrs. Burton had a number of discussions directly with the trustee. She's led to believe that that's the direction they're moving in. They haven't committed to do that at this point, but that's the direction it appears they're moving. One of the reasons why they want to first get rid of the artifacts, and they would have taken that money and put it in the trust with the rest of the capital.
Maybe for later discussion, if there were any other barriers to Chase desiring to remain trustee.
The only barrier would be the probate court.
Okay. I'm in favor of the resolution, so.
I just want to make a comment on this if nobody else has any other comments. Mr. Chase and I did meet with the Friends of Booth, and frankly, I think that's the more appropriate place for these. I think that they are the more appropriate steward for these items. That being said, it's not clear that they want to be. So this is where we are today, and I'd like to call the question. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion passes 9-0. Okay, the tabled ordinances and resolutions. We have the CEP/CIP ordinances. They are on the table. If you want to take a look at the items that we are not funding, you can. I think, do you have copies for everybody? So everybody knows exactly what is tabled? Did everybody get the copy of the amendment? So I just want to give you a moment to take a look through the amendment so you can understand what we are not funding,
Madam Chair?
because it's on the table.
I don't think Mitzi has the amendment, Madam Chairman. Yeah.
Madam Chair, can I make an observation?
This isn't the last.
Can I make an observation regarding?
Well,
You're not going to
I just want to give people, since it's on the table, not really, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew what was on the table. There's going to be no discussion of
We
it
have to
while it's on the table.
adjourn for the term, and then the new council.
She probably, yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Right.
I got it.
I think I already have it.
Well, no, there's no really.
So the column with the recommendation, that's what we are not funding currently.
And then they give you awards.
While we're under discussion of a tabled item,
It's not under discussion, it's observing what's tabled. Okay, do you want to take it off the table?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
oh, what about Lighthouse Ackley Park?
Oh, no, there's other stuff on here.
One more item.
There was a motion to adjourn, is there a second to that? Okay, there's no second.
What? What was the question? Was there a second to the motion to adjourn?
To adjourn, right, there was no
second.
second. Okay, you're seconding it, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all not in favor, say
No.
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 Okay, we're not.
Madam
the
Chairman?
Motion fails 1-8.
Said no.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to take up 9.1.
Page 9.
Madam Chairman, Lighthouse at Ackley Park Commission
Thank you.
for permanent installation of Light the Way Lighthouse sculpture at Ackley Park, whereas in accordance with the Town Charter 2.2.1C relative to sale, management, improvement, and control of the town property, and whereas in accordance with the Town Charter 2.2.0, relative to creation, provision for construction regulations and maintenance of all things in the nature of public works, resolve the permanent installation of a Light the Way lighthouse sculpture at Ackley Park in Lordship be and is hereby approved. Madam Chairman, I just would note that the cost and funding for this lighthouse was made by the residents in Lordship.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Harden. Any discussion? I just want to say that they did approach me, asked if they could put this lighthouse in Ackley Park. It's very attractive. It is adding to that park. Now there's the Welcome to Lordship sign there. There's the gazebo that's there. That's now the Vicky Soto gazebo, dedicated to the memory of Vicky Soto. And now there'll be a lighthouse. So it's a lovely little park. And there's a water fountain now and another spigot. So all in favor of this?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes 9-0.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Last item, I believe, is 9.3.1, Lombrook Park Commission. Resolve that James McGuire of Stratford be and is hereby appointed a member of the Lombrook Park Commission for, thank you, reappointed for the term expired November 6, 2017. I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Harden. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 9-0.
Madam Chairman, second appointment be resolved that, Kaylin Bard be reappointed a member of the Lombrook Park Commission, whose term expired on November 6th, 2017. I so move.
Okay. Seconded by Ms. Santezo.
Madam
All in favor, say,
I have
Ms.
discussion
Manis?
with that. Looking at the Longbrook minutes, Kaylin hasn't been at meetings. We speak to her to say that she wants to be part of this because she hasn't been attending meetings?
Just had a baby.
Yeah, it was my understanding she wanted to stay on the commission.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we just weren't reappointing.
Yes. Yeah.
okay. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion passes 9-0. Is there a
finally,
motion to
Madam
adjourn?
Chairman,
Oh, no?
Finally, Madam Chairman, I'm going to beat you to it. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Young. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Motion passes 9-0.